Let's talk about how to play power chords. Power chords are super fun, and they are the foundation of lots of rhythm guitar playing, and they're also the foundation of a lot of great rock and roll music, a lot of great roots and blues music. They are built out of two elements of the intervals. So if you haven't seen the intervals video, go back and check it out. You'll need it to understand what I'm going to cover. That's right. Plug that in. Okay, so take two. Let's talk about power chords. Power chords are great. I love them. They are take three. All right, let's talk about power chords. Power chords are extraordinarily useful. They are everywhere in every style of music, and they're really simple if you understand the intervals. We'll cover that in a different module. You don't necessarily need to know that to understand power chords, but it would be helpful. I'll explain it broadly enough so that you understand what a power chord is. If I'm on the E string, and I've counted with the alphabet through the intervals up to E, F, G, I've established that the G is my root note, or my 1. The first note of a major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, some people play power chords with their first and third finger. I prefer to play them with my second and pinky. When your pinky gets strong enough to do so, you may prefer to do that too. Both are perfectly acceptable. I don't recommend playing them with your first and second, or second and third, or third and fourth, because you're stretching your hand way too much, especially if you're going to play power chords throughout multiple songs or for a long period of time. Again, putting that kind of strain on your hand can give you things like tendinitis, which is what people get from typing too much on a computer. It's very painful and you don't want it, so don't do that. 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 are advisable. So 1 are G, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G. So what's a power chord made out of? It's made out of two things. A 1, the G, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So if you start on any note and you sound out the do, re, mi, fa, so of the major scale, you will go 5 notes. Do, re, mi, fa, so to the 5th tone, which from G in the alphabet, G, A, B, C, D, from G, 5 notes away, you will always find a D. That little system is really handy. So you need a 1 and a 5. If you have a 1 and a 5, what you have is the sort of the top and the bottom of a chord. You don't have a triad because you don't have 3 notes, you just have 2. And the bottom, that 1, and the top are enough to give a foundation that someone could sing over, a bass player can play bass under, a keyboard can make chords over. It thins you out as a rhythm guitar player as opposed to playing a great big chord that takes up a lot of sonic space. So if you're playing rhythm, these are really handy. Knowing 1 in one place tells you where they all are everywhere else, because a power chord right here, from the 1 to the 5, is a power chord right here. From the 1, A now, to the 5, A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 1 and a 5 will give you a power chord. They're super cool. And you'll hear them in punk rock, you'll hear them in blues, you'll hear them in metal, you'll hear them all over the place. You may hear them in jazz even. You'll certainly hear them in the majority of rock and roll. So they're very useful, and what I've just done is I've taken the 1 and the 5, G to D, G, A, B, C, D, over to the 5th string from the 6th, and replicated it. So you don't need to think of it as, okay, this is my A string, A, B, C, and now I'm going to go C, D, E, F. You can just take this one and move it over. Because power chords on the 6th string are the same shape or the same distance, the same interval on the 5th string. And on the 5th string, I mean with a 5th string root, a C root in this case, C, D, E, F, G. A C and a G, or a 1 and a 5, makes a power chord on the 5th string. The 6th string and the 5th string are the two most used locations for power chords to exist. You can have one at the 0 or the E, and the 2nd fret, E, F, sharp, G, sharp, A, B. Sure. And you can have them with the A string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, away. D, D, E, F, G, A. But it gets really tricky to make power chords on the 4th string or way out here. You don't hear those as much. And you certainly don't hear power chords very often used on the 3rd string, where you would have to compensate by a half step because this string is tuned down a half step. You would have to play them farther apart by a half step. You see that difference from here. That's not really a power chord. It's something else. And the same thing goes for the power chord on if you're playing on the 2nd string. Not really a power chord up here. It's still a 1 and a 5, but it just doesn't really work for the function of a power chord. They're supposed to sound strong, right? 1 and a 5. You can also remember it as twinkle, 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 little star, right? Dun, dun, dun. That is a 5th. Twinkle, twinkle. So to your ear, if you just hum that little melody, you'll know if you're playing a 1 and a 5.